Breaking news, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador won't go after the cartels after a cartel tried to assassinate Mexico City's police chief. Obrador saying, quote, "We're not going to violate human rights. We're not going to permit massacres." But of course, they do almost every day in Mexico. He said, as he went on, "But we're going to act and prevent these attacks from being committed, and we're not going to make any agreements with organized crime like before." End quote. Well, joining us now is Jaeson Jones, retired captain of the Texas Department of Public Safety's Intelligence Counterterrorism Division. Jaeson, it's great to have you with us. I mean, the police chief, an attempted murder, an assassination of the police chief, two of his bodyguards shot down, a third bystander was wounded in the same attack. I mean, this is pretty bold and brash on the part of the cartels, which are indulging in amazing acts of violence.
Yeah, it really is. And Lou, it's good to be back with you. Thanks for having me. I'll tell you, this chief got really lucky on this. And if you look, there was well over a dozen Cartel Jalisco New Generation operatives who are highly trained who went after him early in the morning and his protective detail. They also used some pretty extraordinary weapons on this thing. I mean, you had 50 caliber rifles, along with hand grenades and grenade launchers. I mean, he was extremely lucky. And if you just take a look at the vehicle, you see hundreds of rounds that hit his armored car. So, lucky guy.
A lucky guy, and Manuel López Obrador, the president, sounding just as he did when he was taking over the country. He sounds like a pacifist. He sounds confused. And he sounds like the last thing he wants to do is annoy anyone in the cartels. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're right. And you've heard me talk about this numerous times in the past. My frustration, when we talk about Cartel Jalisco New Generation, operating in over 48 countries around the world, this cartel's been deemed by the U.S. intelligence community and the Drug Enforcement Administration to have over 5,000 operatives and to be in possession of, or be worth about $50 billion. Now, we're still calling them criminal organizations, Lou. Look at the capabilities that we're talking about with what is supposed to be still a criminal organization and really does need to be designated as a foreign terrorist group.
For whatever reason, the president has chosen not to do that. I agree with you. Certainly he should. And the president said that he wanted to designate them as such. But for whatever reason, that hasn't happened. I suspect because the Mexican government, for whatever its reasons, is trying to work a different path. But without a strong federal government working against these cartels, whether you call them drug cartels or terrorist organizations, they are both. And the truth is, we continue to let them export death and devastation into this country, whether it's marijuana, heroin, cocaine, you name it.
Yeah, we really do, and we've got to go after them. The labs in Mexico, especially methamphetamine labs, for example, they can produce, some of these super labs, up to 7 tons of methamphetamine in 3 days. The Drug Enforcement Administration has admitted that Cartel Jalisco New Generation, who we're talking about, they know of over 100 labs that need to be attacked in Mexico. And our intelligence community has been passing this off along with DEA to the Mexican government, but unfortunately, we just can't get them to execute to go after these labs. And look, I want to be clear here, this is a lot of poison that is coming into this country. Fentanyl and methamphetamine are some tremendous drugs that have horrific effects that we're seeing upon the streets of our country. We've got to go after it, Lou. We really do.
I think the American people are probably with personal experience in their families, whether it's heroin, cocaine, meth, fentanyl, whatever it may be. They're familiar with the drugs. What most Americans are not familiar with are the organized webs of corruption on both sides of that border that allow the distribution of all of that death and destruction from Mexico into this country. And we have cowards who are just refusing to fight against these cartels out of fear, out of greed. Your thoughts as we wrap up here?
Yeah, we do, and I will tell you that the U.S. Department of Justice has thrown everything they have at these cartels, and I can give you a great example. Cartel Jalisco New Generation, just in the last few months, last 6 months actually, the Department of Justice has arrested over 700 operatives domestically in the United States and globally. They have thrown the Kingpin Act at them. They have also put a $10 million rewards for justice program. And it's having very little effect. And that's a prime example as to why we need to think bigger. But I will tell you that the policies of this administration and of this president have worked out really well at the border.
No bigger fans of the president than the folks on this broadcast, I assure you. The fact of the matter is, we can't. The metric for everyone is the violence and the corruption that is sowed along that border, the death and the devastation in this country. By those metrics, nothing is having an effect because the overdose deaths are remaining, the violent murders. I mean, I laughed when President Obrador said that 70% of the murders in Mexico were cartel related. You and I both know the number is well north of that. It's silly to say such things, as if that should mitigate the response of government.
It is, Lou, but I will tell you that some of the policies of this administration are really helping. I mean, the border wall, we've now got over 220 miles of it built. That should be talked about on every media station across the country. That is going to help us tremendously. And for those who are wondering out there, are the policies working like the Migration Protection Protocol program? It's been huge. Last year in May, at this time, we were apprehending 144,000 people at our border. Now, May of this year, 2020, only 23,000. Yes, sir.
My friend, we report those immigration and illegal immigration numbers righteously and regularly on this broadcast, just so you know that you're not speaking into a void of some kind. We try to keep the content rich here with truth and surprising new realities, and you help in both cases. Jaeson Jones, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.